and I won't play Stoneforge, and I'll play this, white whatever mid-rangey deck. Yep. But eventually everybody caves and adds in the core Artificer eventually.
Well, that's what we saw Eric Smith do at the Invitational in Somerset. He destroyed the legacy portion of the Invitational before he won it, and then Gerard Fabiano the next day won with this deck as well. So he's playing Blue-Red Delver is Osterhout. He's playing against Joe Bass, who we have seen win a Legacy Open here in this convention center last year, and he's playing Blue-Red Miracles.
All right, yeah, and we see again he's playing white, so he's probably going to be playing Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. And he's got 3 of them. He's got obviously the Batter Skull to go with it, but he's playing the, what you have to play when you play Miracles. He's got Terminus 3 of 1 Entreat the Angels, Counterbalance and Top. That's something we've seen a lot of in Legacy throughout the years, but less and less with the production of Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
And it's hard to assemble your perfect series of top Counterbalance with Abrupt Decay being around because, to be honest, both those cards by themselves are not the greatest in Legacy.
Yeah.
And you'll see that. I mean, everyone can play top. I can play top if I wanted to, but it's just worse than a Brainstorm or Ponder because you need to do it immediately. It costs 1 more mana. And 1 more mana in Legacy to play, use, and activate is a lot. In Legacy, 1 mana is where you want to be.
You're going to see Josh sacrifice those 2 fetch lands. Going to go get a Tundra and a Volcanic Island. Now the gig is up here for Osterhout. It's Blue-White-Red Delver time. We'll see if he has a turn 3 Geist to Saint Trap, maybe a Vendilion Click, what have you. But this is a deck that's been picking up a lot in Legacy. You see a lot of people playing this deck as opposed to Rug Delver. And it's done well. It's done a nice job of establishing himself in the metagame as being a real player.
Right. So we see a Geist Saint Trap here. Problem card for Joe. I mean, obviously he can Terminus it away, but if he doesn't do that, then this guy is pretty much a 3-turn clock. Putting me in at 1 life, but fetch lands and whatnot turned off pretty good.
Pretty tough one to kill too.
Yep.
So
real tough.
Tundra going to be searched for with that Scalding Tarn, so Bass going to go down to 19. Again, this is a deck that Bass does play a lot. When I think of Miracles players, I think of Michael Hedrick, I think of Joe Lissette, 2 West Coast players. I think of Joe Bass, a player again who does play this deck a lot, did win his Legacy Open in this convention center with that deck, and now here is a actual counter spell.
The hard way.
Yeah, and my favorite art on counter spell too.
Yeah, I like it. Counterspell, again, not a card played a whole lot of. I play 1 in my deck. It's a good 1-of. You don't really want more than that because you draw those in multiples is pretty bad. And again, 2 mana instead of 1 mana is pretty much lights out when you're playing these kind of cards.
Counterbalance placed onto this stack here. You see Osterhout taking a look at his hand. Not thrilled about that resolving, but it is in. I saw Joe also play an Academy of Ruins there because he likely has Engineered Explosives throughout his deck list, can get back Batter Skull as well. So his deck can do a little bit of everything. That's the one thing about the Red Miracles deck is it doesn't do anything great, but it can do a little bit of everything. And now Counterbalance plus Top is going to threaten to lock this game out.
Yeah, actually, and you can't even play 1 mana spells when there's Counterbalance on top in play because even if there's not a 1 mana spell, he can draw a card with Sensitive Divine top with the Counterbalance on the trigger on the ability on the stack, excuse me. So then he can draw a card and then reveal the top itself. Oh. So he has Sword there. If he didn't have Sword, he could just draw a card with top, counter it anyway. It's pretty much I don't want to say impossible to win with this setup when you're playing a deck that gets pretty much countered by every spell in Joe's. But it's tough.
Yeah.
Even if this click resolves, he has a sword on top, so it's not like it really matters.
I think Joe is going to activate Counterbalance really quick here, so don't know if he has a 3 among those cards.
If he does, and this is just, excessively game over.
Yeah. Counterbalance plus Top is, it's tough to get through for this Delver deck.
If you're playing black-green, you don't care at all.
Yeah.
You use Abrupt Decay, it doesn't do anything. But without it, it's tough.
And Joe says that's fine. So Vendilion Click's going to come into play. Josh is going to target himself, so he's going to put a new card on the bottom. And draws a card. It's a Force of Will, a little late.
What did he put on the bottom? I
didn't catch a glimpse of it, what he put on the bottom.
And we got to make sure it was face up because...
Umezawa Shite, okay. A card that's not going to have much of an effect on this game. Might on Joe's side, though, as he's going to play a Stoneforge Mystic. See if that's going to resolve. Might have a fight over this with the Force of Will.
It's a good reason. It's a good time to play Force of Will in this format because, again, a lot of people are pretty much... Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of times Force of Will gets a bad rep, and a lot of people board it out in every match, but you can't play a blue deck without having it in the main deck anymore. We saw for a while that was a trend, but now with combo back and better than ever, Force of Will is an auto-in for all these decks.
So, Stoneforge Mystic going to resolve as Counterbalance revealed Force of Will to counter Osterhout's Force of Will. So, Batter Skull going to go to the grip for the Blue-White-Red Miracles player, and that's going to be a tough card for the Delver deck to beat. Once that thing does get into play, it's an uphill climb.
Yeah, definitely. And, I got Stoneforge, you don't. Bad news for you. Bad news for you. Besides the whole counterbalance top being out also, which pretty much shuts down your whole deck. But that being said, right now Josh needs to kind of get a Geist of St. Traft in place somehow through all that nonsense, and then hope to draw an answer for the better skill. The problem is you just can't do all that with a counterbalance in play. It's just not, you don't have the resources. This is when you wish you had expensive sorceries in your deck, you know?
Yeah.
Then you can get through these kind of things.
Brainstorm to start. And again, we know that Joe can put the counterbalance trigger on the stack, and he can counter this if he wants to.
Yeah.
Because since the Divine Top can go back on top of the deck.
And there's a Terminus on top, and I'm not sure what the other card is, but it is a 1-drop here.
It's a Spell Pierce, so that's going to get countered, and you can see there's some frustration, and that is going to do it. So Joe Bass is going to win game number 1 here over Josh Osterhout. Blue, White, Red Miracles up a game over Blue, White, Red Delver. It's time to take a look at those sideboards. So Josh's is what I have in front of me. I'll go over that because obviously you are a more controlling player, so I'll let you take care of Joe's in a second.
Sounds good.
Sword of Feast and Famine to go along with Sword of War and Peace here for Josh. You see 2 copies of Melee Mage, a Grim Lavamancer, an additional Force of Will to go with his 3 main deck. 1 Spell Pierce, 2 Red Elemental Blast, a Swords of Plowshares, a Grafdigger's Cage, 3 copies of Rest in Peace, and a Wear Tear. So, first, I like Wear Tear a lot, be able to take care of counterbalance, maybe be able to snag a top, kill a Batterskull, all of those things. Great split card in Legacy. Swords of Plowshares is okay, but it's not great in this matchup. Yes, you can kill a Stoneforge Mystic, but that's not the only way that Joe can win the game, so I don't absolutely love that card. Sword of Feast and Famine and Sword of War and Peace both have merits in this matchup, so I can see either one of those coming in. But outside of that, I don't really see a lot more coming in, but those are the options from the Blue-Red Delver side, but I predict that things probably get more difficult for him.
Yeah, on the other side you have a main deck that's very, very good already. You obviously have sideboard cards that you bring in. I see 1 mountain in the sideboard. It's kind of cool. I see the basic trend mountain coming in the sideboard, basic lands in a lot of decks, because a lot of times you only can play 21, 22 lands maximum, and you want that mountain. Or like you see storm decks, they have that Trop Island so they can play the green spells in their sideboard. However, he's got a mountain in his sideboard, and most of the time you see red in these Miracle decks is for Blood Moon, but he doesn't even have Blood Moon. I'm trying to see what the mountain's for. I guess just Wear and Tear and Red Elemental Blast are the 2 red cards in his sideboard for that mountain. So he's got a Venduing Clique, he's got Flusterstorm, he's got Venser, Shaper, Savant. That's a sweet card. And he's got Jite in his sideboard, Path to Exile, Terminus. Lots of one-of City. 1 Rest in Peace, 1 Explosives, 1 Wear and Tear, 1 Tormod's Crypt. Against this deck, Rest in Peace doesn't really do it too well. I mean, it's pretty cool against, Tarmogoyf, Nimble Mongoose style rug decks, but against the Delver decks that don't have those in it, it's not so great. But you'll see Engineering Explosives come in, you'll see his copy of Wear and Tear come in, you'll see Umazawa's Jite come in. I'm very surprised he doesn't have it in the main deck, but you see that sometimes, just the 1 Batterskull, and they're like, that's good enough, I don't need this Jite. Even when I don't really like Jite that much in the format, you still want a second copy, I think, of equipment in your main deck, mainly because you don't want to have 3 Squires in your deck after you play your first one. So I see these coming in, and maybe the Venduing Clique, and we're going to call it a day here. So matchup ensuing. Josh will be on the play. Blue, White, Red Delver. I think his main hope here is to dodge Voltron from being assembled over there so quick. And
yeah, it didn't take Joe any time to do it that game.
No, and once you get those 2 out, it's pretty much, yep, good luck. I'm going to counter all your spells. Probably didn't even really need top to do all those because, again, Josh's whole deck, almost every Legacy deck are all 1 and 2 costed spells. And as long as top and counterbalance are in play, you'll never resolve a 1 for the rest of the game.
All right, so as both these players are shuffling up again, if you guys are just joining us, we do appreciate it. Cedric Phillips, Shaheen Sarani at SCG Live, hashtag SCGDAL for your tweets while we are here in the Fort Worth Convention Center. Don't forget, if you do stick along with us, we will be giving away premium as we do make it to our elimination rounds, 3 months in the quarterfinals, 6 in the semis, and a full year in the finals. And also, next week we got Grand Prix DC. You and I will both be there. Competing. You'll be casting the 1-2 that searches out equipment.
Yep.
I'll be cheating Gristlebrand into play somehow, some way. Still trying to figure out how.
Well, some of us have to cheat when it comes to Magic.
Well, that's right.
Definitely not in the form of scummy cheating. We're talking about cheating unfair cards in play.
Yeah, I was cheating goblins into play before, which actually isn't cheating at all.
You're kind of cheating yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I was. I was actually just handicapping myself. So no more of that, at least for next weekend. And then the following weekend after that, we got a Classic in Virginia Beach I know you'll be at. And we've got an Open Series in Providence, too. So a lot of Magic to be played as we wrap up 2014. Seems like it's gone by pretty fast.
It has gone
And
by
by
fast.
2014, I mean 2013.
Yeah.
So not quite there yet.
We're not fast forwarding that far.
No.
2014, pretty exciting, though. Also, Grand Prix hosted by Star City Games here in Richmond, which is my neck of the woods. I mentioned earlier, that'll be modern. A lot of modern fans out there. A format that's gained a lot of steam. I like my Legacy and my Standard, so we'll stick to those here.
Well, I like a Tag Team Probe, so we'll see what we got here. And I know that you like Stoneforge Mystic, which is what Joe has in his hand to go along with the Brainstorm. He's got a Red Elemental Blast, a Sensei's Divining Top, Plains, Karakas, and Scalding Tarn. And I've got a feeling, as you and I play in Grand Prix DC next weekend, I'm going to get tired of Karakas.
Yep.
There'll be a lot of those there.
A lot of Karakas.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you see Plains, you'll know Karakas is kind of joining real soon. There's no reason not to run one. And especially with the new Legend rule, you know, back in the day, you could have Karakas in your sideboard to Karakas someone else's Karakas. Can't even do that anymore.
No.
Now you need maybe a Wasteland. Wouldn't be a bad idea in the sideboard to kind of deal with that.
I expect to see a lot of those one around. I mean, how many are you playing?
Just one.
Just one? Okay.
Yeah, it's just being a control deck with 22 land, you can't really afford to play lands that you can't constantly hit your land drops with. Also, I need to have one basic Plains in there, and I have one Karakas, so any more white sources would be pretty devastating to all my double blue spells.
You're going to see a Ponder here to start the show for Josh. See if he wants to keep it or set it up. He's got a Geist St. Trapped in his hand, so he's got to at least get to 3 lands, but he's got a decision to make here with this Ponder, and it looks like he's going to shuffle it away. So see if he can do any better here.
All right, so what are we searching for here? It depends on what's in his hand.
Got a feeling he's probably just looking for some lands. He wants to get that Geist on the table. Wasn't able to successfully do it last game. But he wants to get that established because once that's in play, it's actually pretty tough for Joe to actually get off the board, which was what makes Geist so great.
Yep, and it looks like he does not have a land off the Ponder there. So, and here's top turn 1. Luckily, it's a Plains. Barring a Mystic Gate, we're not going to see a counterbalance turn 2.
That's Joe Lissette's neck of the woods, my friend. I don't know if Joe has adopted Mystic Gate in his deck list yet. Not many have.
No,
not many have.
No Mystic Gate here. He does draw, however, Josh a fetch land, so he has a second land.
Not only that, he's got some color fixing too. So he's got a Red Elemental Blast in his hand, so he can search out Volcanic Island if he'd like to. You see him going by a couple cards here. Could search out a basic, but I don't think he needs to. Against the Miracles deck, oftentimes don't have Wasteland, and Joe doesn't have any in his deck.
Yeah, the Miracles deck prides himself on having the most basics in the world. 7 basics in his deck.
That's a lot.
More than pretty much every deck. Even Elves, I don't even know if Elves have that many forests.
Actually, I don't think they have that many forests in their deck.
I don't think so either. So definitely a very good amount of basics to dodge things like Blood Moon, things like Prize of Progress. There's lots of cards out there that punish you for having basic lands. So here we go, Stoneforge Mystic. I bet you he's going to get, a Sword of Feast and Famine. I was going to say Batterskull. Who needs Batterskull when we got Feast and Famine? Pretty good against the control decks, right?
Yeah, I like Feast and Famine in this matchup. Also like War and Peace, too, because you can protect your creature from a Swords of Plowshares. So, as I said during sideboard, I can see either one of those cards coming in, but we know that Feast and Famine came in.
I wonder if Josh already has a Batterskull in his hand, because that's definitely the card I'd rather have than both of those at this point, because it just takes so much mana investment to get Sword of Feast and Famine going. You have to pay 2 next turn to put it in play, then you got to pay 2 to equip, or Batterskull is a 2-mana one-shot, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, but if you do connect, life is pretty good.
Yes, I mean, definitely.
Daze the draw.
So I guess he's going to be saying go here, and he does.
And then land Joe's going to top on the end step, take a look at the top 3 cards. See what the Miracles player can find as he sets up his game. And obviously this is exactly the way that Joe wants the game to go. Going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn here because he's going to clear his top. Wasn't happy with what he saw. See what land he searches for. Looks like it's going to be a Volcanic Island. But, you know, this nice slow pace and not underneath a lot of pressure and just a 1-2 with maybe a Sword or a Batterskull coming into play gives him time to set up his top, find a counterbalance, maybe set up some Miracle action. So definitely the pace that he wants to be playing through these first couple of turns.
Yeah, this is the true control deck of Legacy, and I didn't mention in the article mainly because it's just not a huge player anymore due to the prevalence of Abrupt Decay. I won't tell Joe Lissette that and Joe Bass that. Of course, when you build, like I said, a Legacy deck, you're going to pretty much run it into the ground as long as you keep winning with it. I mean, that's true in any of us, right? If we win with a deck, we want to keep playing it. Joe's in the same road here, and he's going to be playing, like I said, this is the control deck. You have top, you have counterbalance, you have lots of counterspells, you have 3 Terminus in your main deck and swords. So when you think about control and Legacy, Miracles definitely is number 1 in the more control-y of the control decks. However, the more I guess you could say, popular versions of Control would have Tarmogoyfs and Deathrise Shamans in there. It's hard to call those Control decks, but they are. In reality, they don't kill too quick.
The way that you look at Control in this format is so much different than how you look at Control in Standard. You know, you look at Control's Esper Control, a deck that just grinds it down, resolves Revelations. They end the game, they've got like 13 lands in play, like just about every time.
Oh, yeah.
In Legacy, if you're the Control deck, you end the game, you got 6 or 7 lands in play.
And that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a bunch of lands.
Yeah, Stoneforge Mystic into play here. He actually doesn't have a second blue because he has Counterbalance in hand and he has a click in his hand. So kind of the biting you in the back here is you have all these basics and you have all these basic planes in Caracas, but a lot of double blue spells. So there is a negative for running all these basic lands.
Yeah. Time to figure out what to search out. Looks like it's going to be the old Batterskull. Now, one of the reasons Sword of Feast and Famine is good, among the many, is that pro-black is a real thing. And Batterskull, the Germ token, is a black creature. So if Bass does decide to go get that, he has to know that he might not be able to block Stoneforge Mystic in the future. But he's going to go get Umezawa's Jitte.
And Jitte probably won't do it either here because by the time Sword of Feast and Famine is connected, it's going to already be out of Jitte range. So it really depends on if Joe has an answer. He doesn't have a white man up, so he can't even bluff Sword of Plowshares. So Josh is just probably just going to go for this. There's no reason not to.
I think going for it is probably a good move.
And he does have the Batterskull, so he had it the whole time.
Okay.
But you still, I think you've already gone this far, so I'm pretty sure you equip an attack here.
Especially with no more lands there.
Yeah.
I think it might be a good time to go for it. Again, Josh doesn't have another land, so if Sword does connect, it's actually a pretty big deal for him because he gets to equip and then untap his lands and do things with it again. So we'll see if the Feast and Famine will get equipped and then connect here.
Yeah.
Pretty big point in the game.
I mean, he has this opportunity to put Batterskull in play instead, but I would rather connect, attack, untap my lands, and then Sword the Stoneforge Mystic on the other side. That's the series of plays I would do.
Well, let's see if Josh wants to do what Shaheen wants to do.
We'll see. I hope so. I hope we are brothers in mind here, and we're not.
Gotta pass it.
So I think he lost an opportunity there to connect with that Sword of Feast and Famine. I think if you're going to put it into play, you're going to attack with it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just put Batterskull in play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty sword to look at, but it doesn't do anything the first turn.
Bass going to draw a card, draws a Flood Strand, so now he's got swords back up. He just did draw the big land there, being a blue source for a counterbalance, so he can get the soft lock back into play.
Yeah, this game would be a little different if Stoneforge Mystic was more threatening here. And he's going to get clicked in response to this. And this is something where a lot of times I'll upkeep play, put Batterskull in play. There's no reason to wait, because if you do, you get clicked in response and lose your Batterskull.
Yeah. Basic Island is what Joe's going to search out here. Again, the Blue-Red Delver deck does play Wastelands, so good to search out basic lands when you can. And as you did mention earlier, Blue-Red Miracles does pride itself on playing more basic lands than anybody. 7 of them.
Yep.
5 islands, 2 plains. And I think we are going to see Vendilion click here from Bass, take Batterskull out of the grip.
Yeah, slight misstep on Josh's part, and it's something that comes with a lot of legacy experience, is never, ever, ever against a Vendilion click deck, wait to put Batterskull in play if they have single blue open or they're tapped out. You just do it right then and there. I mean, the danger is a Terminus, but then, it's going to get you anyway. But yeah, you definitely can put it into play. So we'll
Tough
see.
to play around everything.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Not tough to play around the old Legendary Fairy, though. Definitely a player in all these control decks. You'd be hard-pressed to find a controller that doesn't play Vendilion click.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see how many he has. A lot of them play 1 or 2 and then board in more. He has 2 in the main and he has 1 in the board. So he's up to 3 clicks. Yeah, he's clicking away.
We'll see the hand here from Osterhout. He's got a Brainstorm, he's got a Ponder, he's got a a Geist, a Daze, a Red Elemental Blast, and that Batterskull that we know about. So a pretty loaded hand. He just needs lands.
Yeah, and another reason, if he has Sword on his guy, think about the different board he would be in right now with Stoneforge Mystic Sworded himself, untapping with that land so he can Red Elemental Blast that Vendilion click and then Daze it if he needed to. So a couple different plays I would have made to put him in a better position here. Again, it's kind of like in Limited, or not Limited, let's say Constructed. If you don't block with your creature and you don't attack, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will say, all right, go, and then take damage. And then I'm like, well, if you're not going to block, you might as well attack.
Yep.
This is kind of one of those situations. You're not going to put Batterskull in play, or then you better put that sword on your guy and attack. Otherwise, you wasted a full turn there.
Yep. Tough decision here for Joe. There are a lot of cards there that are worth taking. I mean, it's very easy to select Batterskull, but doesn't mean that selecting Batterskull is correct. That's the thing. I mean, there could be probably an argument for every single one of these cards here.
Yeah, this is one of those where you kind of want to take the card, obviously, in response, and he will take that. But there are some other attractive options there. Definitely.
So that was Batter Skull that did go to the bottom. Mystery card drawn. It's Tundra.
All right, and we'll see what happens here.
So now, at least for Josh, you do have your third land. Drew a Wasteland, too, so he does have 4 lands here. So now he can start playing some Magic. You know, what he needed to do was draw a couple of lands, which he did do. So now he can, you know, cast a Ponder, cast a Brainstorm. He's got access to Red Elemental Blast, the Volcanic that's in play. A lot of options here now.
Yep, the world is your oyster there. You can do whatever you want, but I think it again starts with equipping Sword here. I mean, we missed the first time. The second time we need to do this here.
Looks like he's going to bring forward Red Elemental Blast. Fire away. Croc is going to let him pick that up. And I still think that this is perfectly fine because now it's going to clear the way for a land, a Sword, equip, and attack. So I actually like that play a lot.
If he would have equipped Sword, he could have actually, I mean, in response to him bouncing after the block, he could have blasted and got off the board completely and then still have, you know, the same situation.
So you want him to go
equip, attack.
Okay.
He blocks with click, tries to bounce click, and then you blast it. Because I don't want him to have that click anymore in his hand.
The difference here is that I actually kind of like the way that Josh did that, and the reason being is now Stormforge Mystic is off the board, so now he can't put it in Batter Skull.
I would have jump blocked anyway.
Okay.
You
just take the hit?
Just take the hit.
Wow, just take the blow from the Sword.
Oh yeah, because then again you put Batter Skull in play, and then the ground attacks are pretty much. I mean, he has Sword of Feast and Famine, but Joe is holding his own removal spell in his hand too. I think he's holding a Sword, isn't he?
I know that Joe has a. He doesn't have Batter Skull. Excuse me. He has Umazawa's G-Tain in his hand. So maybe the thought process is that isn't that important for Stoneforge Mystic, as Bass is going to cast a Brainstorm. So he's going to start his turn off by drawing a couple lands and a Chase the Mind Sculptor.
Basic Mountain.
I love it.
I do too. So Joe knows he has Daze, so he can't go land, Jace, bounce, which would be the play I want to do, knowing the Daze there, unless he wants to waste a Force of Will on a Daze. So we'll see what play he decides to do instead.
The question is that a waste?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you get Jason play, it's pretty good. I mean, Josh could draw another blast or something to make it, you know, pretty bad turn for him, but we'll see. Getting able to replay the Stoneforge Mystic 2 to get Batter Skull is also big time for Josh, if he does bounce it.
Pretty appealing. Pretty appealing. A lot of back and forth in this matchup between two blue-white-red decks where, you know, one is a little bit more aggressive, the other one's more controlling, but both decks play a lot of similar cards. 2 mana here. Now there's a counterbalance, so the soft lock is up.
All right. So counterbalance is here, top is here. Got it all. I guess it's going to just, you know, take this hit from Stoneforge Mystic. No big deal, right? Discard a card. Not a big deal. So Josh untaps. Again, handful of cards. Gets to play 2 spells in 1 turn if Joe does not have a removal spell for this Stoneforge Mystic. But Joe could have a Miracle Terminus on top or Sword of Plowshare to stop Stoneforge from connecting. But you definitely want to play spells here first.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Wasteland on Caracas.
All right, fire away there.
And then we'll play our land for turn. And then I think we'll see a Geist Saint Draft pre-combat here.
I find that to be extremely likely.
Yeah. Definitely don't go to attack step.
2, 3.
Did you say go?
No.
He went to combat.
So.
He went to combat.
Yeah, there's mana floating.
Oh man, I can't believe he didn't use his mana first.
Now we're attacking.
Uh-oh.
He gets connected.
Oh man, if you would have played a spell first, he gets to play 2 different things in 1 turn.
Pass, ready, discard. Discards the equipment that he searched for with the Stoneforge. As soon as you take, goes to the bin.
A lot of people haven't played with Sword of Feast and Famine in Legacy. And it's one of those, you know, we played the heck out of it in Standard, but if you weren't on the Callblade train, then you didn't have a lot of experience with it.
Yeah, he could have played. Yeah, you're right. He could have definitely played a spell in the pre. Now he's going to activate the top, which means that Bass probably has a 3 among those cards to be able to counter Geist of Saint Draft. At least I think so. Trigger, flip, Vendilion Click. So bye-bye goes that.
Now we're tapped out. Or before we would have access to a couple different things.
Yeah, we know there's a Daze there, of course. There's a land.
Here comes Jason, the Mind Sculptor, with Blast backup 2, just in case, with a basic Mountain that he boarded in.
Not afraid to take a hit off that sword.
Nope.
Pretty impressive there from Joe.
Yep. No big deal. And Josh is thinking here. I mean, there's nothing you can really do.
He's thumbing by that Daze, wishing he would do something.
Yeah. Little does you know, Days did have some kind of impact on this game, and we've actually seen Days pretty much do nothing in this feature match so far, and actually the last couple camera matches as well. And he is going to Days.
Happy to pay. Now Jace comes into play, bounce Stoneforge Mystic, pass it back. So now the Planeswalker, the best one in Magic history, is here, and it's about to take over this game as only it can.
Yeah. Best card in Magic history?
No, not best card.
Oh.
Black Lotus, man.
Yeah, you're right. Best card. Well, actually, we're about to go right back into that cyclical, I'm going to say real format, then you'll say Vince is real, then we'll have a Twitter war again. So.
All right, fine. You want to bring another best card? No. Figure Destiny, there.
Oh, get out
there.
of
You happy?
here.
I can bring up a card that's better than Jace.
Figure of Destiny, huh?
Wasn't hard.
Has an epic name.
It's a great card.
Yeah, Figure of Destiny.
So now here is a Stoneforge Mystic. Gonna search out that Batter Skull.
So Kithkin Harbinger. That's a card right there.
Yeah, you know, a few things are. A few things are.
I can get changelings too. That's pretty good.
Yeah, really versatile. You're right.
Nameless Inversion.
Yeah.
Limited All-Star.
Just great design.
Yeah.
So Stoneforge going to get Batter Skull past the turn back. But now you can see exactly how much farther ahead Bass is now. Where he could have been a much farther behind. Now Jason's catching him up. He's got the soft lock with counterbalance and Sensei's Divining Top. He might go brainstorming. Could go bouncing. Looks like he's going to go bouncing and just keep pressing advantage as he does just pass the turn back.
Yeah, a lot of things he can do here. And again, Josh had a few opportunities to get the sword going early. Remember when he passed turn with the Batter Skull? He had an opportunity to put Batter Skull in play before the click came down. Had the opportunity to pre-combat cast a spell to see where he was at with the Sword of Feast and Famine. So a few things that he can work on when he plays in the next round, because he's 4-0. Even if he loses this game and match, he's got a great opportunity to bounce back in this tournament and make top 8.
Yeah, I mean now we're in the situation too where, as you see, a Brainstorm's being cast where Joe has established exactly what he wants to, and now he can spin top. He can do what he wants to do, decide which cards matter to him, which are relevant, which aren't relevant. You see him kind of hike up in his chair and he says, yeah, your brainstorm's fine. Draw some cards. I don't think the cards that you're going to draw actually matter. Wear tear among them.
Yeah, a chance of that resolving about Zilch.
Yeah.
One can't ever resolve, and then when you fuse them together, also tough to resolve as well.
Yeah. So 2 cards are going to go back here. Now, of course, Osterhout does have that fetch land, so he can make it a perfect brainstorm, as it were. But he's got to put back some 1-drops because he knows that the 1-drops really aren't going to resolve. He's got the Delver Secrets there. That's not going to be good for a multitude of reasons. Excuse me. There's a counterbalance plus top in play. There's also a red Elemental Blast over there in Bass's hand, too.
Very surprising he let the brainstorm resolve, but, might as well.
I think his thought process is just there's nothing that you can actually find that I care about.
Yeah.
Stoneforge Mystic from counterbalance is going to take care of Osterhout.
It's so demoralizing when they counter your brainstorm, though. Because you remember what happened last game? He countered the second brainstorm with the top, and he's like, all right, just auto-concede. I do that all the time when I play against this deck and I get my brainstorm counter. I'm like, for some reason, that triggers a want-to-concede mechanism in your brain.
Yep.
You're like, I just can't do anything. And we're at the definition of can't do anything as counterbalance on the screen. Was a huge player when it first came out in Legacy. When it first came out in Cold Snap and then moved right into Legacy. We see a lot of these Cold Snap cards. Dark Depths, another big player in Legacy as well. So big Cold Snap playing cards here. And I remember at one point those Cold Snap packs were like almost, I think they're 99 cents a pack in my area because the cards are just so bad. But a card like this is a powerful ability on this card.
I remember the first time I saw the old counterbalance. Not the biggest fan. Just not my type of card. You see, Sensei's Divining Top going to take care of tear there. But one thing I've always liked about that card, even though I despise playing against it, the artwork. I'm a big fan. Big fan of the artwork on that. It reminds me of the terrible X-Men 3, the United States.
I love that movie.
That movie is unwatchable garbage.
Are you talking about when Pyro's going against Iceman?
There it is.
Yeah,
that's the artwork.
That is the artwork.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
The Last Stand.
You didn't like that movie?
Look, I wanted to like that movie really bad.
I just like it because
I love comic book movies.
Me too.
I used to collect comic book cards when I was a kid and all that stuff. Movie was just not good.
All right, how about just the idea of the movie? Is that okay?
The idea of the movie is fine. The
itself,
execution is really poor.
I agree.
Cool. I mean, we could have used some more Multiple Man.
Yeah,
in that
Multiple
movie.
Man was sweet.
He was sweet. Juggernaut was not good.
No,
sorry, just not good.
How about in X-Men 2, the opening scene with Nightcrawler? That was cool, though, right?
It was great.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
X-Men 2 is a great movie.
Okay, cool.
X-Men 3?
We're on the same page. We're on the same page with that one.
We could have done so much more, but that's okay because they fixed the series with the Like
First Class.
Yeah, First Class.
Yeah,
That's
First
like my
Class
favorite
good.
X-Men movie.
That was a very good movie. Yep. And the Wolverine movies aren't bad.
Aren't bad is one way you can describe them. The first one is unwatchable garbage.
I think I'm just biased toward X-Men. I can't help myself. It's kind of like the Matrix. Everyone saying Matrix 2 and 3 are bad. But I love Matrix so much that you can't tell me that. You can never convince me otherwise.
Look, any superhero movie that has Will.I.am in it is unacceptable. That's just not okay.
Will.I.am, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay. See, now we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. Whenever you have rappers as actors, it's not so great.
I think it's mostly just Will.I.am, but giving rappers bad names.
He's in a couple films as well with Steven Seagal.
Yeah, that's the old 1-2 punch. Here's a Snapcaster Mage going to allow a Brainstorm to be cast. Looks like Joe's probably going to set up in such a way that he can put a 1 back on top to counter this Brainstorm.
Yeah.
You see him just getting deeper into his deck, and it's just furthering his advantage. Like, he's got Jason play that he fate sealed with, so it's up to 3. You got the Brainstorm on the stack. You've got Counterbalance. You've got Top. You got Vendilion Click. Crocus isn't there anymore, but that doesn't really matter because that's providing a clock. Just all of these things are going to amount to just an unbeatable board state.
Yeah, see, the old, what's that, 5-11 permanents on one side of the board and then 5 on the other. It's not a good sign.
Yeah.
So Top in response to Stoneforge Mystic will probably result in a counterspell. If not, I mean, Joe doesn't really care at this point. He can just let everything resolve. There's nothing on board. This looks kind of like a Stoneblade board minus the counterbalance on top here. You got Snapcast, you have Jace on 3, you got a click in there, you got pressure. There's pretty much no way to lose the game from this angle. But Joe's going to allow Stoneforge Mystic to resolve.
The thing is, it's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, definitely not smooth sailing ahead here for old Josh.
Yeah, and what we'll probably see on Joe's side is what we saw a little bit in the early turns of this game when the Jace did come down, which is he can just keep bouncing the Stoneforge, and it's not really care. Delver is put on the stack, and you're going to see another top activation. Spin it, check it, counter it with the top. There goes the Delver, and that is going to do it. So Joe Bass, defeats Josh Osterhout 2-0. Blue-White-Red Miracles, dispatches of Blue-White-Red Delver. Joe moves on to 5-0, and if you guys have joined us for coverage in Dallas before, you know that Joe has won a Legacy Open with Blue-White-Red Miracles, and he's off to a nice start again.
Yep, and Miracles again, deck that a lot of people counted out, myself included. If you're going to Grand Prix DC, you have to know that Bug is going to be everywhere. It's one of the most popular non-combo decks.
Shardless Bug.
Shardless Bug, very, very popular deck. Made popular pretty much by Jerry T, who piloted to a victory at the I think it was in Atlanta Invitational. And that deck, again, is everywhere. And if it's everywhere and Abrupt Decays are everywhere, you even see Deathblade decks playing 2 Abrupt Decays now. They're like, why not? We're already playing green. Might as well play some Abrupt Decays. Let's make our mana base and 2 Wasteland. Why not?
Yeah.